Good morning, boys and girls. I hope you're having a great day. Today's video covers packet number 4, day 10. So today is the final day of packet number 4. Next week, we'll be starting packet 5. So after you've done your work today, choose 2 pieces of work from each subject that you want to send to me and Mr. Overton so that we can put your name in the raffle and send you feedback. So that's 2 things from reading, 2 from writing, 2 from math, and 2 from content. If you send us all that, we'll be able to put your name in 8 times. So that gives you a higher chance of being able to win the KFC dinner. The most number of times your name can go in the raffle is 8 because you shouldn't be submitting any more than 8 pieces of work. So please get us your work no later than Sunday because we need to have your names turned in by Monday for the raffle. So if we look over at our chart, like I said, we're packet number 4, day 10 today. So the first thing that we have to do is a phonics activity. It says, complete words with blends riddles activity in this packet. Use the blend chart located in the resource section for this activity if needed. So what we're doing today is this activity. I live on the beach, I have claws. What am I? Is that a frog, glad, slug, crab, trap, sled, drum, stop. So you need to read the clues from the riddle and pick the word with the blend that goes best there. All of these words have blends at the beginning. So you need to figure out which blend word goes best with those clues in the riddle. So that's the first activity you're going to do. If you need to have your blend chart in front of you while you do that, go ahead and pull it out. Like I said, blends are when we have 2 letters together, 2 consonants, and they make 2 sounds. We hear both of them. Grape, we hear both. Digraphs are when we have 2 letters and they make 1 sound. That's like sh, ch, those words, or those letters together. So that is your first activity that you're going to be doing. Let's see what's next. For the next part, it says it's a phonological awareness activity. It says practice counting sounds in 1-syllable words. So again, we've done this earlier this week. Shouldn't be a problem at all. The adult is going to read the word, so they would say hug. Then the student would repeat it, hug, and they're going to sound out each sound to say how many sounds are in the whole word. So you would go g, hug, 3 sounds. And then you're going to continue with each word. So you're going to repeat the word back, break it up into its sounds, and tell the person you're doing this with how many sounds are in that word. So hug, g, 3. And then you would do the same thing for the next word. This is all out loud. You're not writing anything down. It should all be done orally through speaking. For reading, it says reread your favorite story from this packet and retell to a family member. So we've had several different things that we have read. We have Swiss Fun Run, Planet Blip Blop, Fran Goes to the Prom, lots of good things. And so your job is to pick your favorite story from this packet and retell to a family member. So when you retell, think about our 5-finger retelling right here. You need to address the characters, the setting, problem, events, and solution. Remember, the problem is what goes wrong in the story. The events are the big things that happen, and the solution is how that problem is solved. So, and remember, setting is when and where, not just one of them. So when you retell your favorite story from this packet, make sure you think about your 5-finger retelling while you do so. So I believe that's it for our reading and writing section today. That was pretty quick. And I am going to do a practice problem for math today. So I'm going to write a practice problem that we'll do together. Okay, here's our practice problem. I put money in the candy machine and then red and yellow candies came out. I counted them and had 8 candies. How many candies of each color could I get? This is an example of a problem that has a more than one correct answer. The only thing that must be true is that you have 8 candies in all. So as long as what you do, however many red and however many yellow, gives you 8 in all, your answer could be correct. So we know that there are red and yellow. So could you say there are 8 yellow and 0 red? No. Could you say there are 8 red and 0 yellow? No, because it says we have some that are red and some that are yellow. So all you need to do we know that they have to equal 8 in all. We have some that are red and some that are yellow. Draw pictures if you need to. You could do, what's a double that gives us 8? You could do 4 yellow and 4 red. That could work because look, it says, I put money in the candy machine and then red and yellow candies came out. It doesn't tell us how many of each. I counted them and had 8 candies. That's how many in all. How many candies of each color could I get? So as long as it equals 8, when we add them together, it's up to you. There's more than one correct answer. As long as you have some red and some yellow, and when you put those together, it gives you 8. That could be your right answer. What else could be a right answer for this problem? We said it could be 4 plus 4. What else could it be? You think. It could be 1 and 7. Check if that's right. 1 red and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 here, and we add 1 more to that. That does give us 8. It could be 2 and 6. It could be 3 and 5. There are lots of different choices. So now, the only difference between our practice problem that we just talked about together and the problem in your packet is then instead of there being 8 candies altogether, there are 14. So I put money in the candy machine and then red and yellow candies came out. I counted them and had 14 candies. How many candies of each color could I get? Show your ideas on paper. So as long as you have some that are red and some that are yellow, because remember it says we have some that are red and yellow. So you're not going to have all 14 red or all 14 yellow because we have some of each color. As long as you have some of each color, and when you add those together, it gives you 14, that could be a correct answer. You can draw pictures underneath to help you like I did. We use pictures, numbers, and words. I'll read it one more time. I put money in the candy machine and then red and yellow candies came out. I counted them and had 14 candies. How many candies of each color could I get? Use pictures, numbers, and words to show your thinking. As long as you have some that are red and some that are yellow and they equal that total of 14, that could be a correct answer. There's more than one correct answer for problems like this. And that is it for our math today. Now we're going to look over at content. For content, it says, Washington and Jefferson. Pull out the KLEW chart to review information about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. So, after you do that, we're going to read the pages on George Washington and Thomas Jefferson to add any new learning. So, first we're going to pull out the KLEW chart to review what we already know about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. Then we're going to read some information pages on them, and you can add anything that you learn to your KLEW chart. So, we're going to look at that now. Here's your KLEW chart. Right now, you should be pulling it out and looking at what you wrote throughout the week to review what you know about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. After you've done that, we're going to read some new information about them. Okay, we're going to start with Thomas Jefferson. Introduction. Thomas Jefferson was a founding father and third president of the United States. He was born in 1743 in Virginia. At that time, Virginia was a British colony. Thomas grew up on a farm. As a child, he enjoyed reading. Early life. Thomas went to the College of William and Mary. In 1767, he became a lawyer. He was a great thinker and writer. Thomas wrote about the colonists' rights. In 1776, Thomas wrote the Declaration of Independence. So that's very cool. We know the College of William and Mary is very close to where Dutro is. Life's work. Thomas's words inspired colonists to fight for their freedom in the Revolutionary War. The colonies won the war in 1783. Then Thomas helped form the United States of America. In 1801, Thomas became president. Later years. As president, Thomas helped the United States buy the Louisiana Territory. In 1809, Thomas returned to his home in Virginia. There he helped build the University of Virginia. Thomas died on July 4th, 1826. So, the University of Virginia, that's UVA, that's another college that is still around in Virginia today. He helped to build that university. Contributions. As president, Thomas helped double the size of the United States. He is remembered as a man who helped found and grow the country. But most of all, we remember him as the father of the Declaration of Independence. So when it says that he helped double the size of the country, if we look at this little map here, remember when the colonists came, they really stuck to Virginia. We didn't have the whole United States like we do now, but Thomas Jefferson purchased this big chunk of the United States so that our country grew a lot from being just kind of over here to including all this land right here. So that's what it means by he doubled the size of the United States. The glossary, so these are words in the reading that we might need to know the meaning of. Colonist is a person who settles in a place that is controlled by another country. A colony is an area that is settled by people from another country and is controlled by that country. The Declaration of Independence is a paper declaring the freedom of the 13 American colonies from the rule of Great Britain. A founding father is a leader who helped form the United States. Inspire means to give someone the idea to do something. Territory is a large area of land owned by a person or government. A lawyer is a person who is trained to advise people about the law. And a right is something one can or must do by law. So we got a lot of good information about Thomas Jefferson from that page. Now let's learn about George Washington some more. Introduction. George Washington was the first president of the United States. He was born in Virginia in 1732. He grew up on a farm. George went to school for a short time, but he mostly studied at home. Early life. George began working as a surveyor at age 16. In 1759, George married Martha Curtis. She and her 2 children came to live with George. They lived at his plantation called Mount Vernon. A plantation is a large farm. So, Mount Vernon is another place, just like Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home. You can go visit Mount Vernon today. Same thing for Monticello. You can go visit it, and they've tried to preserve it as best they can. And the people there know a lot of information about Mount Vernon, and they can teach you about it. Life's work. The Revolutionary War began in 1775. George led the army of American colonists. They fought and won against Great Britain. In 1787, George led a group to form the government of the United States of America. So the Revolutionary War happened because the colonists did not want to be under Great Britain's rule anymore. They wanted their freedom and they wanted to be their own country, so they were fighting for it. So it was the American colonists versus the soldiers from Great Britain. That's who was in the Revolutionary War. Later years. In 1789, George was elected the first president of the United States. He helped plan the capital city, Washington, D.C., which was named for him. George was president for 8 years. Many people wanted him to serve longer, but he said no. So we call Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. because we're honoring George Washington. Contributions. After serving as president, George went home to Mount Vernon. He died in 1799. George fought for and helped to shape the United States. Americans remember him as the father of his country. And some glossary terms here. Our capital, a city where a state or country's government is based. Colonist, a person who settles in a place that is controlled by another country. Elect, to choose someone as a leader by voting. A plantation is a large farm. The word plantation is often used for large farms in the southern United States. The Revolutionary War is the war in which the 13 American colonies won their independence from Great Britain. It lasted from 1775 to 1783, so it was a very long war. Surveyor, a person who measures land and makes maps. So that was George Washington's first job when he was 16. I believe he was 16. Yes. So what you're going to do now is go back to your KLEW chart and add anything new that you have learned about Thomas Jefferson or George Washington from those pages that we just read. After you do that, you are going to do a double bubble map. So we've done this before for Chief Powhatan and Pocahontas. This time it's for George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. It says, a double bubble helps us learn how two things are the same and different. You are going to think about how George Washington and Thomas Jefferson are the same and different. The bubbles in the middle are how they are the same. That's why the bubbles connect to both Washington's bubble and Jefferson's bubble. The two bubbles that connect to just Washington are how he is different than Jefferson. You can write, draw, or draw and write your answers in the bubbles. So, the two bubbles in the middle here, they both connect to both Jefferson and Washington. So this is how one way that they are the same in this bubble. One thing that they both have in common. And you're going to do the same here because this bubble connects to Jefferson and Washington. So in this bubble also should be something that they both have in common or is the same about both of them. Has to be different than this one. In these two bubbles, they only connect to Jefferson. So they need to be something that is only about Jefferson and is different from Washington. How Thomas Jefferson is different from George Washington in these two bubbles. And then in these two bubbles, they only connect to Washington. So they should be something about George Washington that is different than Jefferson. So something about George Washington that is different from Thomas Jefferson. It makes them different. And these two bubbles should have different things in them. Can't put the same thing. If you need to go back and reread some of this, because this is lots of good information about both of them, go ahead and do that. You can reread it, no problem. But that's what you are doing for content today. The last thing you'll be doing is that double bubble map. I believe that's the last thing. Let me double check. Complete the double bubble about Washington and Jefferson, yes. And then, of course, at the bottom it says, watch the WHRO, learn to grow segment from 1:15 to 1:30, and then practice what was talked about in today's segment. It's always a choice that you have. So you guys did a great job throughout this packet. When you're done, like I said at the beginning, pick 2 activities from each subject that you think you did your best work on and send them to Mr. Overton and I, and we will give you feedback, make sure we mark it as turned in, and then we'll put your name in that drawing to maybe win a KFC dinner. Remember, the most amount of times that your name can go in the raffle is 8 because you should not be turning in more than 8 pieces of work. Awesome. We're really excited to see, hopefully someone from our class will win. The drawing actually happens next week on Wednesday. So fingers crossed that one of you guys will be our big winner. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. Today is field day. If you are unable to do it today, just do it when you can and send us pictures or videos of you guys participating. We'd love to see them and pass them on to possibly get posted. Have a great and wonderful Friday. I love you and I miss you, and keep reading.